Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Pregame Show. That's right, folks. It is a Bucs game day as they have a game on Monday Night Football in prime time against the Houston Texans. The whole world will be watching, and we'll see how the Bucs do in prime time. It didn't work for them last season, but this is a new year, a new team with very high aspirations, Super Bowl aspirations as well. So we're going to break it down on today's show. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place at PewterReport.com, SR, Scott Reynolds. Scott, are you ready for Bucs Week 2?
Yeah, I am. I'm super excited about this game, Matt. I'm excited for every Bucs game just because it's a great opportunity to talk to you guys, the Pewter people out there, and you, Matt, to preview this game. But this is Monday Night Football. The Bucs have a chance now to end the prime times curse, jinx, whatever you want to call it, right? I mean, it's a narrative that if they don't end it tonight, we're going to keep talking about it when the Monday night game rolls around in a couple of weeks against the Lions up in Detroit. And if it doesn't end there, we're going to keep talking about it against Sunday Night Football.
Rams,
that Rams game out there in LA. So to me, this is an opportunity for the Buccaneers to say, listen, that was last year. We screwed up at night. We got our act together this year in prime time, and that's a thing of the past. So I love the opportunity here in week 2 to kind of just end that curse, jinx, whatever you want to call it, get that monkey off their back and just play football. And more importantly, get the 2-0, stay ahead of the Atlanta Falcons who won last night on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, and I think it's a great opportunity to put some of their star players on display. We all know Mike Evans, who's going to try to break a record this year.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield gets talked about more in his Oklahoma Sooners jersey doing the Heisman commercials than he is in a Buccaneers jersey. This is a great opportunity for Emeka Egbuka to show why he should be the offensive rookie of the year. And I think there's a great opportunity to give Todd Bowles some more respect too.
Yeah,
we know the amount of division titles he's won and how he's moving up the ranks in all-time wins for the Bucs. But at the same time, I don't think Todd Bowles is kind of viewed or valued as one of the better head coaches in the league compared to some other head coaches. Maybe it's because he's a defensive coach and we're very much in an offensive league, but ultimately the goal is to win the game. But I think this is a good opportunity to really put the Bucs on the map and get a quality win as well. You know, the Texans certainly struggled in week 1, but they are a good team with a great defense. And, it's not the college football rankings or anything like that, but this would be a quality win for sure.
I agree. And I love your point about Todd Bowles because the last time the Bucs came to Houston, it was literally probably, I'm going to just go ahead and say it, it was the worst game by a Todd Bowles defense since he's been in Tampa, right? They gave up 39 points, including the game-winning touchdown from C.J. Stroud to Tank Dell against Carlton Davis, who had the absolute worst game of his NFL career in that game, gave up like 3 touchdowns on that day. But this should have been a game winner, the Baker Mayfield to K. Dotton touchdown with like a minute left, but it wasn't. They allowed the Texans to march down the field, not just get in field goal range, but win it with the touchdown. And so to me, this is kind of a redemption game for him. And it also needs to be a redemption game for Chase McLaughlin, Matt.
Yes. Yeah, it absolutely does. And we spoke to special teams coach Thomas McGahee, who said he has no worries about Chase McLaughlin at all going into this game. I want to believe him, but there's something about kickers, like it's all in their head, right? I mean, we've seen Chase McLaughlin nail field goals from 55 yards, but, in crunch time last week, missed a field goal and then missed that very, very crucial extra point. So I want to believe in Chase McLaughlin. I would still bet on Chase McLaughlin. In fact, I have him hitting over 1.5 field goals in this game, but it's one of those things you just don't know until he goes out and proves it. Like, he certainly has all the talent and he's done it before, but I think Bucs fans are going to be thinking about it a little bit when he attempts his first kick. Hopefully it's for an extra point and not a field goal, but definitely a storyline to pay attention to.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's kind of funny because this is a game that the Buccaneers are not favored in, and they were favored last week in Atlanta against the Falcons, and they ended up winning that game. I went back and looked at all of our Pewter picks and predictions, and I've also put that in the chat. All of us predicted a close game within 1 score. I think Josh Capo had the Bucs winning by 7. But like for Bucs, Scott, you on crack. Bucs can win easy. I am not on crack. I've never done crack before. The only closest thing I've done is like Snap Crackle Pop, which is Rice Krispies. That's the closest I've ever come to crack. But I will say, Matt, the Texans defense is for real.
Oh yeah.
The LA Rams only scored 2 touchdowns in a 14-9 win out there in LA. And granted, week 1 is kind of like an anomaly because teams are still figuring out who they are, what they can become, what they can do, who they're not, right? And sometimes you see some funky scores in week 1, but I don't think that was too funky. I think the Texans defense is for real. I'm not really sold on the Texans offense either. I'm not saying they're a 9-point machine by any means. I think they're going to put more points on the board tonight against the Buccaneers, but I don't see a lot of the wow factor, the star power from the Texans that I do the Buccaneers. But at the same time, I think it's going to be a little tough sledding for this offense again, not because Josh Grizzard can't call plays, not because Baker Mayfield might have a slow start again, not because the Bucs can't run the ball with their makeshift offensive line. Let's give the Texans defense some credit. It does have some star power. It is a good unit.
They are without a doubt a threatening unit. It's because they got players at all phases of it, like on the defensive line, at linebacker, and in the secondary as well. If they were great in one spot, it's like, okay, you can identify that, find a way to counteract it, and then attack their weakness. But they don't really have any weaknesses. So I'm with you. I think the 14 points by the Rams, certainly not ideal for LA, but that's what you're going to see from this Texans defense. They can get home with a 4-man pass rush. That leaves plenty of players in the secondary. They do a good job at stopping the run as well. So all things considered, one thing you can bank on and at least feel good about is that at their best, I think everyone's taking the Bucs offense over the Texans offense if everything's firing on all cylinders. So how long does it take the Bucs to kind of figure everything out? Let's remember, they had a slow start against the Falcons in week 1. They had 2 straight 3-and-outs. You don't want to have that again, but finally the Bucs were able to kind of figure out what they need to do and then eventually put points on the board. I think you have that feeling that the Bucs can figure out what they need to do against the Texans before the Texans understand how they can go about defeating the Bucs defense. So you can at least hold your hat onto that, but it makes for a really intriguing matchup and a difficult one as well. I don't think the Bucs are going to be able to run the ball very well, which has been a staple for them. It's going to be a lot on Baker Mayfield tonight. That's my
if you look at the Rams last week, 72 yards rushing against this Texans defensive front and 66 yards, I believe, 68 yards by Kyron Williams, who's a Pro Bowl running back, right? I mean, that's just how it is. Erica Deaver says, SR took your advice and pretending to work, but actually watching the pregame show. That's it. See, you just put the headphones in and just act like you're typing, just like that, and just watch the pregame show. The cool thing about this, even though we're sticking to our principles here of having this pregame show on the actual game day, and it's going to happen again in a couple weeks when the Bucs go up to Detroit and play the Lions on Monday Night Football again. It's going to happen later in the year when the Bucs play the Falcons on Thursday Night Football here in Tampa. Is if you miss our live show, that's okay, because we have this archived for you on Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel, and you can watch it all the way up till kickoff. So we have a long lead-in time here, a long ramp-up time for you to watch this show. We greatly appreciate the turnout tonight, and not just for tonight, folks, or this morning, but we also want to see you tonight, too, because we've got a fantastic Pewter Game Day show for you. You guys came out in huge numbers last week. And we're going to do it again tonight, Matt. It's 7 o'clock. That's a new time for Monday Night Football because of the doubleheader tonight.
Yeah, you have Raiders-Chargers after that as well. But had an absolute blast last week with Daniel Morales, us giving our play-by-play, our reaction, analysis. It was a dramatic game for sure, so I was going crazy throughout the whole thing, especially at the end with the Emeka touchdown, the missed extra point, and then the missed field goal by the Falcons. But it's so much fun to do. Turn off the Monday night broadcast or watch the game, put it on mute, listen to myself and Daniel. We keep it super interactive as well with people in the comments. So you're as much a part of the show as myself and Daniel are. So we'd love for everyone to come out. It's a fun time. It's a fantastic time. Giving insight from, what we heard and saw during practice during the week. And looking forward to it. So appreciate everyone that will be joining us.
Yeah, for sure. And we've got more people here busy at work that are joining us on Pewter Pregame, and we love that. Thank you very much. We also love super chats too, just throwing that out there. Super chats, you know the rule. It's the same thing on our Pewter Report podcast. You cut to the front of the line, whether it's the Pewter pregame show, whether it's Pewter game day, you're guaranteed to get your comment or question read on the air or talked about on the air. And we're excited to talk about tonight's game, but we're not excited about one particular injury, Matt. And I'm a little concerned about one Luke Gedeke. And the reason why I say that is because the Texans have got not just one, but two really, really good pass rushers on the outside at defensive end. And Luke Gedeke did practice in a limited fashion the last practice of the week, but he is listed as questionable. And Matt, it's not just, is he going to play tonight? And we're still trying to find that out. He might be a game time decision, kind of like how Vita Vea was last week. And it worked out really well because I thought Vita had a great game in Atlanta. But he's not going to be at 100%. He's not going to be at full strength because he is listed as questionable, which means the foot's still bothering him. So even if he plays, he's not going to be 100% Luke Gedeke. And you might have to be against a guy like Will Anderson Jr., who already has a sack on the year and had 11 sacks last year.
Yeah, Todd Bowles said this is a different foot injury than what Vita Vea had. So it's good that he at least has a chance, but I didn't love hearing, we're going to work him out before the game and see how he is, because knowing that Tristan Wirfs is out along with Chris Godwin Jr. out, your only option right now is Charlie Heck at right tackle, unless you want to go Ben Chikuma, but I don't think Ben Chikuma is ready for the Texans.
Right.
Just you would only want him in if it's a blowout, or you'd rather him go up against like the Jets or the Dolphins later in the season.
Yeah.
So they're going to need Luke Gedeke. There's no doubt about it, because they already got that makeshift offensive line with Graham Barton moving to tackle and Ben Bredesen at center and Michael Jordan at guard. So you already have a group that doesn't have the most chemistry in terms of playing those new positions. They've obviously been around for a while. Michael Jordan is new to the team. I can't imagine if Charlie Heck is at right tackle plus that that makeshift offensive line. So you're going to have to hope that Luke Gedeke can play in this game, because it is a handful with Anderson and everyone else on that Texans defensive line.
Yeah.
So hope and pray, Bucs fans, that Luke Gedeke can go.
And here's the other thing too, Matt. It's like Charlie Heck got a lot of run with the starters dating back to the minicamp and the OTAs and the offseason training camp, but it was all at left tackle. And he is a swing tackle. He has some starts at left tackle and right tackle in this league, as well as guard, but he has practiced predominantly at left tackle on that side, and really has only practiced this week exclusively at right tackle, just in case Luke Gedeke can't go. I mean, he's a professional. He's got to step in and do his job. Yeah. But it's not like he's had the entire offseason to work with Cody Mauch the way that he has the opportunity to work with Ben Bredesen on that left side.
And you already have a group that struggled to run the football last week. And while they, did a good job in pass protection, and Baker Mayfield certainly took some of the blame for the issues when, he did get sacked and when he did have to escape the pocket. The Texans are a completely different beast. They don't blitz that much. They only blitzed 14% of the time in their first game. They want to beat you with 4. And it was going to be a challenge enough with Luke Gedeke. But now if you have Charlie Heck, who was predominantly on the left side in training camp, that's a whole nother obstacle. So I think with the Bucs, you're going to see a lot of screens tonight. And I know they went a couple of screens last week, but I think they're going to dive into that even a little bit more, just knowing the personnel that they have. So expect some screens to Bucky Irving. I think Rashad White as well. I think that might be part of the game plan to try to neutralize this pretty good pass rush.
Yeah, and of course, the best thing you can do is run the ball at these two players. Not that they're bad run defenders, but if they have to try to shed a block and make a tackle, that's expending energy that they're not going to have to rush the passer on third downs. And also, too, establishing the run keeps you out of those more predictable third and long situations where they can just pin their ears back and get after Baker Mayfield. So I don't know how successful they're going to be, Matt. They're going to try to establish the run. That's what they want to do. That's what their identity is a balanced offense with Baker Mayfield passing the ball and Bucky Irving running wild. Yeah. But again, this is a really good Texans defense, not just pass rushers, but also run defense as well. It might be a little bit of a tough sledding. And I wouldn't be surprised, too. You mentioned the screens. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out and try to throw the ball to set up the run. a little bit. Maybe throw the ball more on first downs, not be as predictable, and say it's first down. Let's try to get a couple yards. All right, 2nd and 8. Let's try to get a couple yards. Okay, it's more of a manageable 3rd and 5 now, right, than 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8. You run the risk of that incompletion, right, on first down, and now you're in 2nd and 10, and that's not keeping up with the sticks. And so to me, I want to look at the bright side of things and say the quick slants to Mike Evans, the quick slants to Emeka Egbuka, like you were saying, the screen passes, the little flares to Bucky Irving and Rachaad White out of the backfield, wide receiver screens, maybe get Tez Johnson involved in a wide receiver screen. Use that passing game to set up the run, and then run the ball when they're maybe expecting some passes. Maybe on 3rd and 5, try a draw, right? Especially if you're at midfield or on the plus side of the field, where you're going to give Baker Mayfield an opportunity to go for it on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, and not just punt. So maybe mix up the play calling a little bit in that respect. This is going to be a really interesting matchup because I'm not throwing shade at Jeff Ulbrich last week, Matt, but this is going to be a very tall task for Jeff Grizzard. For Josh Grizzard to go up against DeMeco Ryans and try to win this chess game, Bucs offense versus Bucs defense.
I think this is going to be a huge game for Emeka Egbuka specifically, who we have on the picture there, because if you watched last week with the Rams, while they didn't score a lot of points, the 1 ounce of success they did have came with Puka Nacua lining him up in the slot, moving him around, even putting him in the backfield at one point or another. I think the Bucs should go with when it comes to throwing the football, they should attack it the same exact way. Put Emeka Egbuka in the slot. The Bucs won a lot of condensed formations last week as well, so I'm curious if they'll kind of stick with that game plan too.
I agree.
But I think Emeka Egbuka against Jalen Petrie, who's a good defensive player, better in stopping the run, though, than he is in pass coverage. I think that's the one matchup that the Bucs should really be exploiting in this game tonight, is Emeka Egbuka in the slot against Jalen Petrie. We saw Puka Nacua last week have a lot of success. The Bucs should be doing the same exact thing with Emeka Egbuka and get his name in front of a national audience. That's not bad either.
That's right. Absolutely. Folks, we are literally about 24 subscribers away from 21,000 on our YouTube channel. So while you're watching this program, if you're watching Pewter Game Day tonight, go ahead and hit that button, hit the subscribe button, help us get to 21,000 today. We would love that. Almost as much as we love Super Chats, but we would love to hit 21,000 today. That would be an awesome milestone to hit. And hopefully we'll celebrate a Bucs win tonight on the Pewter postgame show. The Pewter Report postgame show will take place about 30 minutes after the end of the game. As soon as Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield are done with their press conferences, we're going to go live. So this being a 7 o'clock start, kind of factor in around 10:30, 10:45, as long as the game doesn't drag on. That's kind of when we're going to have our Pewter Report post-game podcast. So make sure you check that out. All of this, Pewter Report post-game podcast, Pewter Game Day, all on Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel, but also streaming live on X and Facebook at Pewter Report.
Yeah, make sure you check it all out. Going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully we're talking about a Bucs win, which would be great. We have a $4.99 super chat from the Big Boy Soap Hockey League. Shout out to everybody at the Big Boy Soap Hockey League. Myself and Adam got to do the play-by-play for their event over the summer. It was on ESPN. You can check out their YouTube channel for the full broadcast. But
that's awesome.
Had a fantastic time, and you guys are awesome. So thanks for watching the show. Thank you for the super chat, as they say.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter plays both sides of the ball. Who, if you had to choose from the offense, would you want to see play on the defensive side of the ball?
That's a great question.
If you turned off like injuries and stuff like that, I would love to see Baker Mayfield, Baker blitzing off the side. Now, it would never happen in a game.
Yeah.
Bucky Irving, I think, would be cool too. Just a slot corner, playing over the middle.
I could see that.
Off the side. I think Baker or Bucky would be a ton of fun.
Yeah, I would say in his younger days, you want Mike Evans at cornerback. Remember, he actually has an interception back in one of the Pro Bowls he was in. He played cornerback or defensive back, maybe he was a safety, and had an interception.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not like the Pro Bowl game that I was used to watching growing up when it was really competitive. This was more like flag football before it actually became flag football. But yes, back when it was actually a game where you wore shoulder pads and all of that, he did have an interception as a defensive back. And I know that he's been used a handful of times, especially in Hail Mary situations, as that extra DB because he's 6'5", can go up and grab the rebound, if you will. Mike's a big hooper. And so, yeah, maybe Mike Evans, again, with injuries turned off. I love that, Matt.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I like the hypothetical. I mean, even like Tristan Wirfs on the defensive line or like maybe an edge rusher because he's so athletic.
I'm sorry. I'm going to change my pick. How about Luke Gedeke at defensive tackle?
Yeah,
right.
Him next to Vita Vea.
Yeah.
Elijah Gansey. Sorry, Logan Hall, but I mean, that's your new 3-4 defense right there.
I'm with you on that, Matt, for sure. Matt, let's get to something that you know an awful lot about, which is the point spread. Right. Let's get into that as well. The point spread right now is Tampa Bay 2.5.
Yeah. So first time. I mean, there's only been 2 games, but first time this season that the Bucs are technically an underdog. I gotta say, the biggest thing I'm a fan of in this game is the under. It's at 42.5. You got 2 teams that pride themselves on defense. I know it didn't work well for the Bucs last season, but they do have a defensive head coach, and the Texans have one of the best defenses in the league. But if you're confident in the Bucs, you might want to take them money line. But this plus 2.5 is a nice little cushion as well. If you think they're going to win, but who knows if it's going to be close, you get that little cushion with the 2.5 points. Maybe if the Texans kick a game-winning field goal and the Bucs have a lead, you still might be able to cover depending on what the score is in the game. So I think it's a solid line overall. If you believe in the Bucs, then take a money line, but it's nice to have that little cushion of 2.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a little bit of motivation for the Buccaneers. This is Monday Night Football. I think this is a team that is kind of searching for some national respect. I think they have it to a degree. They're not a bad team. They've been a playoff team since 2020, right? Since they won the Super Bowl that year, and they've won the division every year since 2021. But at the same time, though, are the Texans? I'm just not sold on the Texans. I like their defense, but C.J. Stroud, if you take away that 5-touchdown game where he threw for 470 yards against Todd Bowles' defense, and I mean that did happen. We can't erase it from history. It happened.
Yeah.
But if you take that out, Matt, I just don't buy the hype that this guy is a superstar quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. He's better than some around the league for sure. He might be the best quarterback in that division, right? But if you look at last year, and I know he didn't have Tank Dell for about half the season or so, or thereabouts, but 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. It's kind of a very pedestrian number. It was good enough with a great performance by the defense to get them into the playoffs, and of course they demolished the Chargers mostly from the defensive side. They just wrecked your favorite quarterback, Matt, Justin Herbert, who I know you have a lot of respect for.
I do.
Yeah.
A little overrated,
but yeah, I mean, I'm not buying the hype. He didn't have a touchdown last week. They kicked field goals. They didn't score at all in the second half. He had an interception. We'll see how he fares tonight. But to me, as much as Nico Collins gets a lot of the hype, and I think Nico's a very good wide receiver. I don't want to necessarily disparage him.
Sure.
But Tank Dell was the explosive guy. He was the big time playmaker that would get yards in chunks and kind of had that speed and quickness. And they really don't have that outside of Jalen Noel, who was one of 3 Iowa State wide receivers they have on their team this year. They had Xavier Hutchinson before, and then this year they drafted wide receivers from Iowa State in back-to-back rounds, in rounds 2 and 3. It was Jaden Higgins, the bigger, more possession type guy, kind of like a Nico Collins in round 2, and then Jalen Noel, a receiver the Bucs liked. They had him in for a top 30 visit. He's more of that slot receiver, explosive guy, little undersized, kind of a tough nut to crack, very physical, despite his size, plays bigger than his size, but has some jets and has some explosiveness. And I think that if that version of Jalen Noel shows up tonight, where he can kind of be that Tank Dell fill-in for C.J. Stroud, then it takes the Texans offense to a new level. We didn't see that in week 1. Hopefully that doesn't happen tonight.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't. I think with Stroud, great quarterbacks are able to elevate the play of other receivers around them, even if they don't have top level guys. Like I think Josh
Yes.
Allen is a really good example.
Yes.
Yeah, he had Stephon Diggs for a couple of years, but there's not a lot of household names at the skill positions for the Buffalo Bills. It's all Josh Allen getting the best out of them. I think with Stroud, his rookie year, he certainly had more weapons and a little bit better play from the skill position players that he doesn't have or didn't have last year. Of course, injuries played a factor and didn't have it in the first game either. And that's why you put Stroud as I would still say above average. Like if Stroud was on the Bucs, you'd be like, hey, he's balling out. But of course, he's the product of Mike Evans and Emeka Egbuka and Chris Godwin and Bucky Irving and all that stuff. So Stroud needs the help around him, but he's got a shaky offensive line, which hopefully the Bucs will take advantage of, and not those game-wrecking players that the Bucs have. So I think for Stroud specifically, he's got to get in rhythm, and they have to rely on that run game, which is still fairly new with Chubb as their running back. But if he doesn't have that, he's not able to put on that Superman cape. Now, he was against the Bucs 2 seasons ago, but as his career has carried on, he's not able to put on that Superman cape the way that other quarterbacks have. And I think Baker is ahead of Stroud, but I think Baker's another example of he was on different teams that didn't have the skill players, and Baker was pretty below average. So
it certainly helps to have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Emeka Egbuka and Bucky Irving and Rachaad White to turn around and hand off to. There's no doubt about it. We got some more super chats to get to here, Matt. We have Kathy's
Sunshine and Lollipops Cat.
Yeah, Kathy's going by a new name here, Kathy Gillespie. I love it. Yeah. Sunshine and Lollipops Cat. Of course, my Bucs Bright Side videos will come out the day after the game, and inspired by Kathy, who wants to hear nothing but pure positivity. And I love that. And so win or lose, I come out with these videos now. It's a weekly series I started last week. I'll continue it tomorrow on Pewter Report TV. Even if the only good thing is Riley Dixon punted the ball really well, I'm going to say it. Hopefully there is a lot of positive news tonight, like there was last week in that win over Atlanta. Some things to correct and work on for sure, but still, it's always better to win than lose. That's my expert analysis. I'm sticking by it, man.
Yeah. So thank you to Kathy for the $9.99 super chat. Says DR talked about how they need to keep Baker. I think D'Amico Ryans Baker in the pocket, making him uncomfortable by getting their hands up because of his field of vision and the fact he has a low throwing trajectory. Thoughts? Baker's been victim a little bit, to getting his passes knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Right. It's just the nature of he's a smaller quarterback. So that's definitely a great way to, try to limit what he can do in this offense is by, getting your hands up, knocking it down. And, Baker is kind of at his best when he's kind of rolling out, throwing on the run, and certainly he's got that scrambling ability. It was on display last week. So, I think D'Amico Ryans knows what he's doing as a defensive head coach, and I think that's a really good strategy against the Bucs.
It is, and of course, what that means too is having the contain, right? Having Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. set the edge, not let Baker get outside. Whether it's just him leaving the pocket and looking downfield, or like an escape route or whatever, they want to keep him in the pocket and make his size work against him. The longer you're in the pocket, the more you have to go to your different reads. And a lot of times what you'll see too, whether it's a quick slant, a wide receiver screen, when it's the quick game, the pass protection will be set to give Baker a passing window, if you will, right? Because he's only 6 feet tall. And when you've got offensive linemen like Cody Mauch, who's 6'5", and Luke Gedeke, who's 6'5", et cetera, I think they're 6'5" across the board pretty much. When you have these taller guys in front of you, they will try to create that little bit of a passing window. It's a pocket, but they'll try to steer their guys a little bit and give Baker that quick passing lane. The problem is if the first read isn't there, if it's designed to go to, let's say, a quick slant to Mike Evans out of the slot, right? If that's where the ball's going to go, or like a quick out to Evans or something like that, and that initial read is taken away, then you don't have that kind of built-in passing window for Baker. Yeah. And that's where you see him kind of look around a little bit, because now his size is working against him. And to Matt's point, it's spot on. That's where you see him try to manufacture that space he can see. And of course, he doesn't get enough credit for his football IQ. Baker's a very smart quarterback. And the thing is, he knows where his receivers are supposed to be. Sometimes he just has to move his platform and get out of the pocket to get to that launching pad where he can send it downfield to that second or third reader. Sometimes it is just the dump off to Bucky Irving or Rachaad White, and that ends up working out too. Sometimes it's finding that escape lane, and maybe at times Baker gets criticized for running into sacks, and sometimes that's going to happen. You have to take the good with the bad. Sometimes it's a 20-yard run on a scramble like we saw last week. Sometimes he runs into sacks. Hopefully that doesn't happen a lot tonight.
He's a great improv guy.
Yes.
Like, I know Mahomes gets a ton of credit for his improv, but Baker's definitely up there too, and it's also why he's in so many commercials. Bucs Basement, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, wary on the next 2 games. Bowles and the Bucs stink during night games, and if we win this game, Bowles is incapable of going 3-0 to start the season. That's a curse for next week, Matt. We're talking about the practice tonight, the 0-3 jinx. And when I say 0-3, it's Bowles is 0-3 in week 3. He has not won a week 3 game yet. Hopefully that changes next week. Win or lose tonight. Hopefully that changes against the Jets next week. And Matt, I got to say it, the Buccaneers might have jinxed themselves a little bit more with some week 3 bad mojo. I mean, they picked uniforms where they've never actually won a game in. They're using the 1976. First of all, it's technically a creamsicle because it does have orange in it. So technically we know the Bucs don't play well in creamsicles. Point number 2 is they're using the 1976 jerseys. It's the 50th anniversary of the team. I get it, but they didn't win a single game in there. So hopefully the Buccaneers can check a lot of boxes next week and say, we can win in week 3. We can move to 3-0. And we can also win in these jerseys. Finally, it's been 50 years. Someone's got to win in them. And but yeah, we can't get ahead of ourselves. Like, the Bucs do have to win tonight. It will be a tough matchup, but they're going to be riding high if they, if they end up winning tonight, because the Jets are winless. They look terrible yesterday. Their defense is awful. But there is also a saying that hungry dogs run faster, and they're going to want to put a win on the board. So we'll talk about that this upcoming week. Beats McGee, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, win, lose, or draw, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I can't wait till November to get here when the real season starts. Happy game day, fellas. Whoa, all these Bucs fans, I love the optimism. But
I know.
We're talking about next week. We're talking about November. We got to let the season play out a little bit.
True.
I love the optimism. Sounds like you're very confident about tonight's game. But, whoa, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Well, I will say this. The great news is, regardless of what happens tonight, the Buccaneers are still going to be atop the NFC South. Right, because at worst they lose. They're tied with Atlanta in the standings, at both teams at 1-1, but they have the tiebreaker over the Falcons. So heading into week 3, your Buccaneers will still be atop the NFC South. Of course, it would look a hell of a lot better if they were 2-0 and still way ahead of the Falcons with that head-to-head matchup in week 1 going Tampa Bay's way, as we saw last week.
We have a $5 super chat from Bucs Basement.
This is a good one.
Very much.
Yeah.
Cohen in Jacksonville. Pretty much watching that made me happy. Baker would have never disrespected him the way that Trevor Lawrence did.
Yeah, and Christopher Cole also wanted me to talk about this too. Wanted us to talk about this. Thoughts on Cohen and Lawrence situation yesterday? It's interesting, right? The way that kind of played out, and also too, the Delaney says, Scott, any thoughts on the Liam Cohen outburst? I believe you mentioned Liam had a bit of overreacting. Liam is a hothead. He's a ginger. Okay, we know that from the Mark Cook days here at Pewter Report. He was the ginger badass, and I've known a lot of redheaded people. Ryan Jensen was one of them. Matt, they called him Big Red because it wasn't just the red hair. He would get red faced and he would get pretty pissed off playing football, and you love to see it. Liam Cohen is he's a little volatile, and I like Liam. I really do. I think he set the table for this offense. I know a little bit of bad blood, and I know you Buccaneer fans can't forgive him, but you need to. He's in Jacksonville now. He set the table for this offense, brought the playbook here, why do I want to call him Jeff Grizzard? It's Josh Grizzard. I know that. I think it's because my brother Jeff's going to be shooting the game for us tonight, and I was texting him earlier. So, but Josh Grizzard, he brought Josh Grizzard here. So he did a lot of good things. 30 points per game last year. There's a reason why the Buccaneers kept Todd Bowles over Liam Cohen and going with the shiny new toy last year in a league that is prone to hire the hotshot young offensive coordinator as the head coach. The Bucs decided to buck that trend and say, we're going to go with Todd Bowles. We're sticking with Todd. He'll fix the defense. We're going to keep all the assistants on offense. But Todd's a leader of men. And I'm not saying that Liam isn't, but it's an interesting dynamic. And Liam's going to press some buttons. And I saw that firsthand with John Gruden. John Gruden could press some buttons. And when you press the right buttons, Matt, it was like 12-4, 11-5. And when you pressed the wrong buttons, it was like 4-12 and 5-11.
Yeah.
And so, in other words, when the train was on the track, you wanted Gruden as the conductor because it was not going to go off the track. It was going to go straight ahead, barrel right through everything, right down the tunnel. But if the train jumped the track, John Gruden was not the guy to get it back on. Tony Dungy could. Todd Bowles has done that. So to me, it's going to be interesting to see how Liam grows as a coach. And it was interesting. The Jaguars actually posted video of Liam Cohen last night in the losing locker room with his speech. I don't know if you guys saw that. That's very interesting. That does not happen in this league.
Yeah.
Teams are so quick to put the game-winning, speech out there, the celebration by the head coach. They'll do that all day long. The Bucs do that. But you're not going to see the Bucs put out a Todd Bowles address to the team after a loss. They just don't do it. The Jaguars did that. I think that was very calculated, and I think Liam's trying to rally the troops a little bit and not lose. Not he's going to lose the locker room in the week 2, but kind of send a message. Interesting how that happened yesterday.
Yeah, definitely trying to spin zone it for Liam Cohen, and that's kind of the claim to fame for Justin Fields is in concussion protocol, by the way. That for next week as well. But Todd Bowles' claim to fame is his stoic nature of, hey, I can't freak out because if I start freaking out, then everyone else on the sideline is going to freak out as well. And we know that Todd Bowles can course correct. We've seen it the last 2 seasons when the Bucs go on this losing streak, and then they're able to get out of it and end up winning the division. But what I kept thinking about when watching that video of Trevor Lawrence just being like, "Get out of here."
Yeah.
How are you already sick of him when this is only your second game with him?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like that, he's heard him for, 4 years now. And it's like, all right, like, I got it. Like,
yeah.
How could you already be tired of him? It's your second game.
Accept
you're right.
the coaching. Take the coaching points from Liam. Yeah. Take the coaching points. Don't wave them off like whatever. It's like, no, like your coach is on your ass for a reason. You screwed up, son. Like, take the coaching, Yeah.
And that's a tough loss for them too. I won last week, but I mean, you lost to a backup quarterback.
Yeah. Agreed.
In that game, so, by the way, shout out to Harry. Oh, I'm not going to say that out loud. Shout out to Harry who says 11:13 p.m. in Sydney, Australia. Should be in bed to get up for work in the morning. But how could I miss the
Let's go
show? Thank you so much for watching over in Australia. That's awesome. And Adam Enright watching from Ireland.
That's awesome.
Predicting 27-21 that the Bucs win. That is awesome as well.
I'm going to have a Guinness for you tonight, Adam, as I'm watching the game. So I appreciate you guys tuning in from across the pond and around the world. That's fantastic. We love our international Bucs fans like we love our Floridians and our American Bucs fans as well.
And shout out to Bulim Seba for the $1.99 super chat. Says Baker Mayfield has to watch out. Don't force interceptions. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, Baker had some very interceptable throws last game. I believe there was 4 that could have been takeaways, and I don't think that the Texans are going to miss on that the way that the Falcons did. So definitely Baker needs to be on his P's and Q's in this game.
Yep. As James Martinez says, don't tell my boss I'm here, guys. We won't. Your secret is safe with us. We appreciate that. Evan Paul Timberlake says, reading Pennsylvania here, where Taylor Swift, Chad Henne, and Kerry Collins are from. Wanted to get my roll call in. Got to go to a work meeting. We'll check out the pod once I get back. That's awesome. Appreciate you guys tuning in on a Bucs game day on a Monday.
Yeah.
It's Monday Night Football, so we're super excited about that. Just like we're excited to tell you guys, get to Walk-Ons. If you're not going to stay home and watch the game tonight, or if you're not in Houston watching the game live, if you're a Bucs fan, make sure you get to Walk-Ons because they've got some tremendous new appetizers, including some of the best nachos you'll have. Game days are better at Walk-Ons. Big screens, bold snacks, all the hype 3 Tampa Bay area locations to serve you: Wesley Chapel, Midtown Tampa, and Lakeland. And boy, do they have some killer cocktails for game day at Walk-Ons. Make sure that you check out their cocktails. If I can get the button to work right. It's not pulling up. Okay, well, I'll just tell you about the cocktails. They're fantastic. They've got the punch. It's like a rum punch drink that I absolutely love. Let's see if I can get it working now. It's not going to work. Okay. And they also have some outstanding shots as well. So if you like to partake in some adult beverages, Walk-Ons has got a brand new drink menu as well as fantastic food for game day, new appetizers as well. Make sure you get to Walk-Ons, 3 Tampa Bay area locations to serve you: Wesley Chapel, Tampa, and Lakeland.
I was at Walk-Ons on Saturday. Had a fantastic time watching college football. They got tons of TVs, and that's exactly what I was doing. And you should do it too. So shout out to Walk-Ons.
Exactly. Let's get to our Bucs matchups here to watch. Offense versus defense. Matt, can you punch that up? StreamYard is not cooperating for me. There we go. Good.
The Bucs offense against the Texans defense. A matchup that we've come to see a couple of times in recent years. Quarterback Baker Mayfield against CJ Gardner-Johnson. This is a player that picked off Baker 2 seasons ago in the postseason when CJ Gardner-Johnson was with the Detroit Lions. A guy that likes to talk a lot and certainly take the ball away. This is a very intriguing matchup.
Yeah, it really is. And he plays nickel. He also plays strong safety. Occasionally, he'll play some free safety. He's a little bit of a chess piece because of his versatility. Usually in the box, usually underneath in coverage. But D'Amico Ryans, we move him around a little bit, kind of like he does Antoine Winfield Jr. Todd Bowles does that on the Bucs side of things. But you mentioned it, Matt. Baker Mayfield nearly had some interceptions, and I thought Greg Allman made that great point on our Insider show on WDA, which I co-host with Pat Donovan and Greg Allman. But Baker Mayfield got away with some throws that should have been intercepted. He can't do that against the Houston Texans defense, which is full of ball hawks. And CJ Gardner-Johnson is one of those guys. So I think Baker Mayfield needs to play a clean, almost conservative game tonight. Like, don't try to be the hero tonight. Just do your part. This is probably because of this defense. Maybe Baker needs to be more point guard than shooting guard tonight. Just distribute the ball to the playmakers and let them try to win the game.
I think this is a prime example, no pun intended to the Bucs playing in prime time, where the Bucs should be as basic as possible. Just simply run the ball, don't turn it over, force the Texans to beat you offensively, because I don't know if they can. And part of Baker's problems, and certainly you'd rather have Baker than not have him. Yeah. But part of his problems is that he does try to play the hero sometimes, and you cannot do that. You have to just stick to your fundamental. You got to eat your vegetables. That's what the Bucs have to do. They have to eat their vegetables. Yeah. They don't need to be flashy. Listen, we'd all love for a huge game from Mike Evans. We'd love for a 65-yard touchdown to Mike or Emeka Egbuka. I just don't see that in this game. And there's nothing wrong with just grinding it out. They're going to win ugly tonight. If the Bucs win, I think it's going to be ugly. And that's fine because it would still counts as the Bucs going 2-0. So
that's right.
Eat your vegetables, Baker.
Hopefully it's Luke Gedeke. I've not heard any definitive word from the Buccaneers this morning. I've probed some sources, so it very well could be a game-time decision with Luke Gedeke's foot, like it was last week with Vita Vea's foot, although 2 different foot injuries. Todd Bowles was clear in saying that. But whether it's Luke Gedeke at maybe not full strength or Charlie Heck, whoever it is, has got to really show up to play. For the record, I'm going to go a bit of a push on Mayfield and Gardner-Johnson, and I'm going to have to give Will Anderson his due here. Hopefully he's not a game record tonight, but in this matchup, if Gedeke was at full strength, I might do a push here, but I'm going to give the young former first-round pick his due. He's going to get to Baker Mayfield tonight. Hopefully it's not fatal in terms of a strip sack or a crushing sack that gets the Bucs out of field goal range or something like that. But Will Anderson Jr. is literally one of the best up-and-coming pass rushers. Matter of fact, he's already arrived. He had 11 sacks last year and a sack last week. I think it's going to be a little tough sledding for whoever mans the right tackle position tonight.
Yeah, Will Anderson's a team captain as well. Has burst onto the scene, living up to his draft hype as well. This is going to be very difficult. Whether it's Luke Gedeke, I mean, if it's Charlie Heck, yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You're going to take Will Anderson, but if Gedeke can play, it's certainly a boost for this team. But Will Anderson's one of the best edge rushers in the league, so it's hard not to go against him.
Yeah, for sure. As we continue on with our matchups here on the offensive side, Mike Evans coming back home probably for the last time.
Yeah.
He is a native of Galveston, which is close to Houston, and he's going up against Derek Stingley Jr., who is, I believe, still the top paid corner in the league, and did not have a great showing in week 1. He's going to have to bounce back big time, but this is kind of the marquee matchup for the Texans defense and the Bucs offense. It's going to be outside. Derek Stingley, Mike Evans. I would normally say this is a push, but this is, I think, going to be a personal game for Mike Evans. I look for him to shine on primetime at home with a lot of his family and friends watching. And I think Mike has a big night tonight on Monday Night Football. But a big night because of what you said, Matt, may not be 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. A big night tonight might be for Mike 80 yards and 1 touchdown, but it's going to be significant yards and a significant score.
Yeah, I think Mike is going to have an impactful moment. Like, I think he's going to score a touchdown or have something big like that. I just don't. I think, and it's going to be crazy to say because next week they go up against Sauce Gardner. I think next week is the big mega explosion game that Mike Evans has like each season, where he has 8 catches for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm not saying Mike's slowing down or anything like that. He had 51 yards last week. Is very respectable.
Right.
I just don't think this is the week where Mike has a big game. And it's credit to Stingley, who I thought he did pretty well against Devontae Adams. Like, Devontae Adams wasn't the one hurting the Texans defense last week for the Rams offense. We'll see if he kind of goes one-on-one against him or if they move around Mike or if he shadows him the whole game. I think Mike will have an impact. I wouldn't be surprised if he scores a touchdown. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a big play for a first down. I just don't see a huge game. So I'll call it a push. I'm not going to go against Mike Evans, but I think next week is the true Mike Evans sensational game that, we see every season.
I'm with you. I totally agree. Sunshine Lollipops Cat, otherwise known as Kathy Gillespie, says, how close to game time do they announce who's in and who's out? That's a great question. 90 minutes prior to kickoff, both teams have to submit their list publicly in terms of who their inactives are. So we'll know. At the same time, keep in mind, this team might dress Luke Gedeke, but they might end up playing Charlie Heck and seeing how it goes too. So there's a couple different scenarios. Just because Luke Gedeke may be active doesn't mean he's going to play as well. So keep that in mind. But I would think that if he's going to dress, they're going to give him an opportunity. They'll give him the first shot. But it's 90 minutes every game day, whether it's Monday, Thursday, Sunday. That's when the teams announce their inactives. Continuing with our picks here, Matt, wide receiver Emeka Egbuka, 2 touchdowns last week, including the game winner versus nickel cornerback Jalen Petrie. I'm with you, Matt. I think this is the key matchup for the Buccaneers. If Emeka Egbuka wins this over Jalen Petrie, who, if we're being honest, I love the kid. I think he's fantastic. He was one of my favorite players coming out of Baylor a couple years ago in the draft, won at Tampa Bay to get him. He's a playmaker, kind of in the mold of Tyke Smith.
Yeah.
He missed 3 tackles last week. And Emeka Egbuka just looked like Chris Godwin last week. And I do think this is the marquee matchup. Egbuka, I believe, is the better athlete. And I think he's going to win this matchup and help the Buccaneers win the game.
So everything I said about Mike not having a big game, I think it's because Emeka Egbuka is going to have a huge game tonight. I truly, truly do. I think he's going to get a ton of targets. He's going to have many opportunities to catch and run and make big plays. I could not be higher on Emeka Egbuka if I tried to be. So I think this is a great matchup for him. It's one that the Bucs should exploit, as I was talking about earlier. And if they go this route, I think the Bucs can win by more than just a 1-possession game. But we'll see.
One interesting thing we should note before we finish these key matchups, I believe the rule is on Monday Night Football, you don't have to put your elevations in the day before, right, Matt? I think you can do it at 4 o'clock today to get your elevations up for Monday Night Football. Is that what you're hearing as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just because they didn't elevate Michael Jordan from the practice squad, right? Yesterday.
But
they will, right? So yeah, on Monday Night Football, that is the little bit of a change. There is they don't have to turn their elevations in until 4 o'clock on game day, rather than the day before the game.
Yeah, so we'll see. I would think it has to be Michael Jordan. He's going to be starting in the game.
Yeah,
but,
no doubt.
Yeah, we'll see who the other one is. And then Graham Barton against Danielle Hunter, another familiar face that the Bucs have seen before, and another test of Graham Barton at left tackle. Passed the test last week, but this is certainly a different test this time around.
For sure. I talked to both Graham and Coach Wirfs, as Graham calls him, in the locker room this week, and Tristan was super excited to get back on the practice field. And I think Tristan is going to be active for that game next week against the Jets. I think that's going to be his return to action. It's not going to be tonight. Todd Bowles already said that both he and Chris Godwin are going to be out for this game. That's not a surprise. But to me, this is a much taller test for Graham Barton. A little bit of an easier homework assignment, I think, for Graham, Matt, because last week he had to prepare for 5 different edge rushers in Zach Harrison, Leonard Floyd, James Pierce, Jalen Walker, and Arnold Ebiketie. He went up against 5 different players at left tackle that he was going up against in Atlanta. This week, it's going to be Danielle Hunter, and maybe a couple of snaps for Will Anderson. They'll flip-flop maybe 5 or 6 times during the game just to give a different look. But Danielle Hunter, age 30, 6 seasons of double-digit sacks, 4 or 5-time Pro Bowler, I believe. He is a legit pass rusher. He is a big-time threat, and it's as difficult as it's going to be for either Luke Edeke or Charlie Heck on the right side, it's going to be just as difficult for Graham Barton on the left side.
Yeah, I'm a little worried for Graham Barton in this matchup. He looked great, but this is completely different type of matchup for him. So, they got to watch out. I mean, the Texans are built on this, so
yeah.
They know what they're doing.
I love Graham, but I'm going to go with Danielle Hunter for the record. I think he wins that matchup.
All right, let's go to the Bucs defense against the Texans offense. Certainly an advantageous matchup for Vita Vea going up against Jared Patterson, the backup center for the Texans. Played in 11 snaps last week after the injury to their starter, but not a huge sample size. I mean, Vita Vea has a chance to be an absolute monster in this game. And he was a monster last week with that 4th down stop, but I think it could be even better this time around. Yeah,
I agree. I think Vita Vea is on a mission. He has become a legit Pro Bowl defensive tackle, and I think Charlie Strong is bringing out the best in Vita Vea. Not that Casey Rogers didn't, but I just think Vita is just on a different level, and he's age 30. He smells blood in the water. I like this matchup a lot for Tampa Bay. I'm going to go Vita Vea.
Antoine Winfield Jr. against C.J. Stroud. I have a feeling Winfield made that great play at the end of the game against the Falcons. Broke up, what would have been probably the game-winning touchdown.
Right.
I think something clicked into place with Antoine Winfield.
I do too.
Where it's like, I'm back. Yep. And I think that may have sparked something or ignited something in Antoine Winfield Jr. where we see even more of the all-pro version of Antoine Winfield Jr. for the rest of the season. So because of that, I still think Stroud is a pretty good quarterback, but all-pro Antoine, there's nothing like it. There really isn't. So I'm hoping that play at the end of the game sparked something in Antoine Winfield Jr., so I'll take him in that matchup.
One of my prop bets for tonight is an Antoine Winfield Jr. touchdown, whether it's a pick 6 or a scoop and score. I think it's a pick 6. I think Winfield gets his first career pick 6 tonight, picking off Stroud. I like Antoine Winfield Jr. a lot in this matchup. I think he's going to be the chess piece that kind of takes C.J. Stroud off the board, if you will. Tyke Smith, who had 11 tackles last week to lead the Buccaneers, missed a couple, but I think played pretty well, a strong safety. They're going to be putting him in the box a lot tonight to try to stop Nick Chubb, who had 60 yards on the ground out there in L.A. This is some bulldog on bulldog crime, as Tyke Smith told me in the locker room this week. Nick Chubb is a Georgia legend. Everybody knows that. Tyke Smith is fully aware of that. But he's got a ton of respect for Nick Chubb. But he said, I'm looking forward to some bulldog and bulldog crime. And I think you might see Tyke Smith being the leading tackler again this week, not to knock Servassier Dennis or Levante David, but we're going to see a lot of Tyke Smith in the box tonight to make the Texans have to beat the Bucs by throwing the ball.
Yeah, Tyke quietly had a pretty good game last week in week 1. And certainly filled up the sheet with a ton of tackles. I got a ton of respect for Nick Chubb too. I think his career arc with being able to come back from some serious injuries, still being a top running back despite being on a horrible football team in the Browns. Now he goes to a much better team. If the Bucs can slow him down and then just pin their ears back and go up against a bad offensive line for, third and longs, obviously every team wants to get in that situation, but with the revamped pass rush for the Bucs, I think that's going to be one of the biggest factors tonight is can they stop Nick Chubb? So intrigued for that matchup. I
am too. This one's going to be intriguing as well. Second week in a row, Hassan Reddick, I think it's a good draw. He's got Ariante Irsay, the Bucs, a player that the Buccaneers scouted. They weren't going to draft an offensive tackle, but he's a pretty good one, second-round pick out of Minnesota. Starting right tackle for the Houston Texans, and he played a lot in the preseason on the left side of the line, and they moved him in week 1 to the right side. I don't think he fared that well, and now he's got Hassan Reddick. That's going to be a tough draw. We saw Hassan Reddick with 7 pressures and a sack in last week's win over the Falcons. I like Hassan coming on strong. He missed a couple sacks last week. I think he gets at least 2 tonight against Ariante Irsay.
Love this matchup for Hassan Reddick. And he was great last week. I think recurring theme is players were good last week and can still be even better this week. And I think Hassan Reddick will be that guy.
I'm with you on that. And then this is a critical matchup here. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Jalen Noel, how he is trying to fill in for Tank Dell to be that explosive receiver that can move down the field. And this is some Big 12 on Big 12 crime here. Jacob Parrish has gone up against Jalen Noel quite a bit and was on, I think, the winning side of some matchups, but on the losing side of the scoreboard. Iowa State beat Kansas State the last couple of years that Jacob Parrish was there. But Jacob Parrish had a very good debut for the Buccaneers, missed a tackle or two, but also was pretty good in run support, also made a great tackle out there on the perimeter on a wide receiver screen for no gain. And I like this matchup. I think it's I don't want to say it's, well, I'm not going to say it's a push. I'm going to say Parrish is going to win this matchup. Jalen Noel didn't show enough for me last week to make me a believer yet. Hopefully this is not his breakout game. Hopefully Parrish can be that guy again and contain him. So I'm going to go Jacob Parrish here. I'm going to give him a little bit of an edge.
Jacob Parrish has been so much fun to watch, going all the way back to rookie minicamp and training camp, and had a good showing in his first game as well. The Bucs trusted him. He played, I think, 55 snaps in the game. He played a lot, and I think he could be a cornerstone for Tampa Bay at that nickel position, and then maybe eventually outside corner in his career. I got a lot of high hopes for him, so I'll take him in the matchup, and he's a fun player to watch.
It's also been fun, and it wasn't too fun on Saturday for the USF Bulls, but it's been fun to watch their rise this year. And why don't you watch them in person in their next home game against South Carolina State?
Horvath was hit as he threw.
They lost at Miami, but 2 wins already on this season. This is going to be a great season for the Bulls. It already is. September 20th at noon, which is this Saturday. Get there, Raymond James Stadium. You can click there at USFBullsTix.com to purchase tickets, USFBullsTix.com. Get your tickets. The last home game was pretty fun, Matt. It was a blowout win over Boise State. They really kickstarted their season. They took the momentum there into the swamp and beat the Gators. Hey, the Miami Hurricanes are pretty good. They're a top 5 team for a reason. So maybe give them a little bit of grace there. But I like the Bulls certainly in this win here over South Carolina State. I also like Matt Matera and Daniel Morales calling the action tonight on Pewter Game Day at 7 o'clock, Matt, here on Pewter Report TV.
That's right. Coming up later tonight. Going to be so much fun as we do play-by-play, give our reactions, our analysis. It was a ton of fun last week, and hopefully be even better this time around with the Bucs getting a win in prime time. We keep it super interactive with the chat as well, so you guys are just as much as part of the show as we are. So, yeah, make sure you tune in at 7 o'clock. And then next week, Bucs are back on a Sunday. We will have the Pewter Pregame show at 9 a.m. breaking down Bucs versus Jets home opener. And then the Pewter Game Day show will be on at 1 o'clock. Same type of deal. Reactions, analysis, all that fun stuff.
Yep. Appreciate y'all watching Pewter Pregame. We had a great turnout last week, anticipating that again today. Y'all came out strong for the live show, even during work. Remember, you can always catch it in its archive version up till kickoff at Pewter Report TV or YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, give us a like, and leave a comment on this video. Helps us with the YouTube algorithm.
That's right. And also make sure you're following us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. So please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video. Give us your game prediction and what you think is going to happen and if the Bucs will win. That's going to do it for us on this morning's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you soon for another Pewter pregame show. Out.